Today on Locked On Canadiens, the Habs are thankfully back in the win column, but we're concerned with some more important things. For example, the offside challenge rule needs to die.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, maybe I was being a little bit dramatic, but we have some good ideas on how to change that. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canadiens. We want to thank you all for making us your first listen of the day. As you know, we are free and available on YouTube as well as wherever you get your podcasts as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every day. And now, the number one sports podcast network. My name is Laura Saba, also known as the Active Stick. The Montreal Canadiens are trying to give me a heart attack in the regular season. But assuming I survive, I have this wonderful co-host to work with. Hi, Ian. Ian Boisvert, you might know him as maybe it's Ian. I stole him from the build. How's it going? And how excited are we that the Canadiens are able to win games again?
How many people do you think picked Jake Evans to win that game, Laura?
I don't think even Jake Evans picked Jake
Look
Evans.
at the look on Jake Evans' face as he's celebrating that goal. He didn't even have his number. Like, that was one of the funnier ways a game could end. I know Andrew Berkshire of Game Over says this, and Kay Imam, also of Game Over Network, also says this. Jake Evans only scores bangers, man. He only scores really, really cool goals.
We're gonna talk about that, but we also want to talk about who else stood out in that game. It was a really strong effort by the Montreal Canadiens. And then in our last segment, Ian has this idea to tweak the offside challenge because it's really taking the energy out of games. But let's get into the game first. I really want to talk about how the Montreal Canadiens played well for the third game in a row. I did feel that they allowed Vegas back into the game in the third. I know we talk about score effects all the time, but I still felt that it was a pretty strong effort against a really strong opponent and a really good goalie. That was a fantastic performance by Schmidt too.
He stole 3 or 4. Just
Absolutely
should have been goals. 2 of them were Caufield. He could have had another hat trick.
Yeah, there you go. So, Vegas was obviously, it's always a challenge. Excellent goalie. But I listened to what Jake Evans said when he was named the first star of the game, and he said something like everyone was doing their job tonight. And I don't think that was like a veiled, petty reference to Samuel Montembeault allowing 2 goals in Boston. I really don't think so. I think the way they came together as a group was really good. We're going to talk about some standout performances in the second segment, and I have one particular one I really want to talk about. But Ian, overall, what did you see in that game, and what do you think the Canadiens need to still improve on?
I think the lesson the Canadiens took from the Boston game was that their forwards and their defense were getting caught too high in the offensive zone. And I think early it was really noticeable that the Canadiens were always thinking of having more guys higher, above the puck than below it. I think that kind of hurt them early on in the game. Their forecheck took a little bit to get going because I think guys were really tentative. They didn't want to get down too low in the zone. They didn't want to allow Vegas to get a lot of rushes back the other way. And in fact, later in the game, you could see the Canadiens getting those kinds of chances because Vegas was pushing and trying to create, and Montreal was getting rushes going back the other way. So I think that was the lesson that the Canadiens took away from the game in Boston, and rightfully so, right? Like a lot of the chances Boston got, especially, early on in that game and in the second period of that game, were on the rush. I think that the Canadiens learned from that. I think in the third, they were trying to sit back too much. I think they're very close to figuring out how to defend these kinds of situations because, it looked passive. I saw someone mention to me that the Canadiens looked really passive in the third.
Yes.
What I saw was a team who was foregoing unnecessary risk to make a smart play and just get the puck deep and work down low. They just didn't get the puck deep enough and work down low enough.
That was
right?
also, one of our listeners was sending me messages like that too as well. Just that they were being too passive around the goalie.
Yeah, I think they didn't want to. What they don't want to happen is they take a shot, it misses, and they go the other way and they score. I think at that point the Canadiens were very much thinking, let's be responsible with the puck. Let's try to get our way out of this. I don't necessarily disagree with that mentality because eventually they're going to have to learn how to win games that way and how to hold leads that way.
Yeah.
But I think this was a step in the right direction. They ultimately, of course, they couldn't get it done in regulation, but again, it's a process. They're still figuring it out. Really, you look back at it, like the goal that Vegas scored, it's a play where it's it's very similar to the goal that Danault scored, and that Vegas would probably say, we didn't give up a high danger chance there. It was a shot from deep that was deflected well by the guy in front. That's exactly what happened on the tying goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like, there's the narrative that the Canadiens can't hold third period leads will persist. That's not going anywhere until they finally decide that they can. But I think, I kind of buck the trend a little bit here. I think the Canadiens were doing a lot of the right things, in service of learning how to play with the lead in the third period.
My mute button was stuck. Sorry about that. I do think it is something that the defense is going to have to solve rather than the way that they try to generate offense in the third. I want to say that I thought Bolduc did a really good job on that Danault goal,
Yeah,
and he like it wasn't just the pass; it was that he like I don't even know, like, I don't think it was a creative thing. I think it was, like, through sheer, like, will and physicality that he created that scoring chance, right?
I think the last 3 games from Bolduc, he has looked the most confident that we've seen him. And what I loved about that play was that it seemed like Bolduc knew what he wanted to do with that puck before he had it, which
Yes.
is not something you're able to say about him for most of the season. He's struggled when he's had the puck. The play has died on his stick. But you can see he kind of takes a peek towards the front of the net. He sees the puck coming towards him off the wall, and he has one goal in mind, and it's to get this puck and throw it towards the net. He did it later on in the game too. There was a very similar play where he just kind of threw the puck at the net, and it created some havoc in front of the net.
Yeah.
I think players like him, and especially him, are best when their brain is turned off and he's playing on instinct, because his instincts are good, and he's got the frame and the talent to play within those instincts. It's when he starts to overthink and he can't get out of his own way. I think that's where the shift in Bolduc's play over the last few games has come in. He's playing with more confidence, and it's noticeable in everything he does. It's such a small play. I'm glad you brought it up because I noted it as well.
Yeah.
That he wasn't thinking. He saw the puck and he said, "I'm gonna throw it," and that's exactly what he did, and it worked out.
Yeah, and you're right in that's, the caliber of player that he is, that is gonna be their bread and butter. I wonder as well if it's the fact that they put him down on a lower line where he didn't feel like he needs to compete with the likes of Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, who think and foresee the game very well. And sometimes you're just not that guy, right?
For sure.
And putting him down on the third, fourth, whatever you want to call it, line, it allows him to just go back to the basics. How many times have we said this season, right, that when they go back to the basics, and especially in certain aspects, that's when they're the strongest because they have the talent, right? They have the talent, they have whatever the instincts, they have the defensive ability. So when they go back to just generally just playing basic hockey, doing the little things, doing the simple things, that's often when we find them succeed. Not everybody is going to be Demidov, and not everybody is being asked to be Demidov. I think that's the key, right? Like Demidov is a special player with incredible instincts, creativity, smarts, all of that. Like nobody's asking anyone else to be Demidov.
Yeah. Speaking of Demidov, just really quick, this is another, I think it's like the 7th game in a row that his line has really struggled. They've had a hard time generating much of anything. He had the turnover that caused the first goal of the game. I say all of that to say you stick with that line, because the end result, the prize of sticking with that line and having them figure it out together as a group, how they can come out of this, makes that trio better. It makes their chemistry better. It makes them play better together. Yes, they're definitely going through it. I don't want this to come off as they're fine, don't worry about it. But this is where process and result kind of have to share the thought space.
Yeah.
And I think you let those guys figure it out. I don't think Kapanen has been playing particularly well as of late, but I think this is going to make everybody on that line better. I think they're going to figure it out. They're too talented to not figure this out.
Right. And so, like, the point that you're making, or the point that I think you're making, is that, like, they leave the line together, but they try to do different things with it. Kind of like how we talk
Yeah.
about the power play all the time. It's like, who are you going to put on there? These are your best offensive players. You just have to do something different with it, right?
Yeah, let
Yeah.
them figure it out. It's sort of like, you let a baby cry themselves to sleep in a certain way, right? Like they're gonna throw a little tantrum here,
Yeah.
and they're gonna figure this out. And if
They're
they're
all
gonna come
babies too.
Yeah, and they're gonna come out of this on the other side a better unit for having been left in that spot. Now, if it goes on 20 games, that's probably too long. But I'd
Yeah.
be shocked if by the time the Canadians get to the Olympic break, they haven't figured it out. Like
Yeah.
they're too talented, they're gonna get it figured out.
They are. And, like the next team they're playing is Colorado, who's really good at everything. So they can maybe take some lessons
Yeah.
off of that. All right, up next there are a couple more people we want to call out for having good games, and that's coming up in just one moment here on Locked On Canadians. This episode is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is a time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelt Quo, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise that Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnhl. That's quo.com/lockedonnhl. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you, everyone, for making Locked On Canadiens your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. And if you haven't already, check out our new Everydayer Club. You'll get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Canadiens, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. Plus, you'll get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. Ian is very good with Discord. I am not so much, but he's teaching me so we can all hang out in there. So please check us out. Go to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, where do you want to start with our additional praise today for Locked On Canadian for Canadiens players in that game?
It's got to start with Cole Caulfield. I can't believe we got through the whole first segment without talking about Cole Caulfield.
Oh, I was saving him for now.
Yeah, exactly. Look, 6 straight games with a goal. He could have had 2 in this one if you counted the one from the offside challenge that was garbage, and we'll talk about that later. He got robbed 2 more times by Akira Schmid. He's on a generational heater right now for the Montreal Canadiens. And since the U.S. Olympic team was named, he is tied with Brock Nelson, funny enough, for the most goals scored by an American player with 10.
Not
So
bad.
I really hope, if you're Bill Guerin, that American team can score goals in that tournament, because if they can't, you're gonna look really stupid leaving out Brock Nelson. I mean Cole Caulfield. Like I just don't know. Again, it's the same thing I have against the criticism of, well, Lane Hudson's small. He's been small his whole life, guys. He's always going to be, and it hasn't mattered yet. Did anybody watch the playoffs last year? They saw the one time Cole Caulfield got hit by Alex Ovechkin, and they just went, that's it. He's too small. They didn't watch him score. They didn't watch him play. They didn't watch any of it.
They don't watch him score goals all the time. He has 30 goals on the season.
Yeah, guess what they're going to do? Not watch him score goals at the Olympics. That's on them. I don't care. I don't root for that team. But yes, Cole Caulfield. Really, the other side of things, Jakub Dobes, man. 32 saves on 34 shots. 4th win in a row. Yes. And this one, like, a lot of those wins, you're like,
he didn't look great.
Yeah, they won, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Lots of rebounds. They won almost because of the play of Jakub Dobes. Like, he made so several incredible saves, especially on the power play, that helped the Canadiens penalty kill post a perfect night against Vegas.
Spectacular, really.
Yeah. So I mean, it begs the question: who starts against Colorado?
I think was no, Sam was the one that was victimized. I always think, because I remember it was like almost in a row where first Dobes got victimized by Dallas and then Sam got victimized by
I want to say it was Sam, because Sam played the night before in Vegas. Remember, they traveled the next night and they played Colorado. I don't know. I don't envy making that choice. I really don't, because if you play Sam and he stinks, it's really tough to come back from that because of how great Dobes was. And then you go, okay, Dobes against Buffalo, and then if he stinks against Buffalo, it's like, well, then you screwed the whole thing up. But oh well.
But I feel like the last few starts, whatever we've said, Marty has done the opposite, right?
Yeah, it's
or
true.
Like Sam should start, and then he's like, all right, I'll start Dobes.
Yeah, we
or
zig
be like,
Marty zags.
Yeah, keep Fowler for another couple of weeks. All right, we're sending him down.
Yeah.
Although that's more can't use than Marty.
Can I pull up a graphic really quick?
I knew you were going to do it. Let's do it.
Mike Matheson, man. The Mike meter's out. He gets an 8 million. He was so good. From the blocked shot that he made on that sent the puck down the other way for Caufield's eventual goal, all the way to a few minutes later, he loses his stick. He's using Kirby Doc's stick, which is offhand. Mike is a lefty, Kirby's a righty. And he makes an outlet pass with the wrong stick to Alex Texier. This dude rules. I'm so glad, Laura, that we spent all of last year standing on business with Mike Matheson, because we have come out on the other side of this looking so incredibly right. He gets an 8 million on the Mike meter today.
He gets billions.
When was the last tragic Mike we truly had?
We've had, I think this season we've only had tragic Mike on a play. We haven't had him in a game tragic.
Yeah.
Right?
We are 53 games into the season.
Yes.
He's just magic now. This is just who he is.
I remember also there were some conversations where oh, it's a tragic Mike night, and then he just turns it around in the second period, and then we never look back.
The whole point of this, me talking about Mike Matheson, was, and that joke was, that you could often tell from his first shift, first couple of shifts, how he was going to look that night. But the reality is, if he starts well, he's typically going to have a good night. And if he has a rough start, he usually rebounds. He doesn't have a bad night. A lot of that is, a lot of people will go, it's Noah Dobson. And those people will also go, Noah Dobson's overrated. So I don't understand where that comes from. But I think you have to give Matheson a lot of credit. He's completely reinvented how he sees himself fitting into this hockey team over the last year. He deserves all the credit in the world for how he's turned this around. They would be nowhere without this guy.
Right. And I do want to point out that the Noah Dobson factor isn't just that it's Noah Dobson and Noah Dobson's good. The Noah Dobson factor is, I think prior to this, there were 2 years in a row, where Mike Matheson was being called upon to do a little bit of everything. And then you saw the emergence of Lane Hudson, which took a little bit of pressure off of Mike Matheson. And then now with Noah Dobson, they're able to parcel out the assignments, if not the ice time, which also the ice time is reduced this year. But they're able to parcel out the assignments such that Mike Matheson is free to be himself. He's not being asked to be not himself, right? And I think he's thriving. He's thriving under these conditions. You have to love it.
I feel so vindicated, Laura. I stood on the rooftops on the show and said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. This guy rules.
Every day somebody would be in our comments being like, they need to trade Mike Matheson. And it would be like, they need to, not they should. It has to be now. They have to get rid of this guy. He can't be on this team anymore. Where would we be without him? All right, we've got a couple more minutes. I do want to talk about Jake Evans in that game because, man.
Yeah. That goal is just, it's not often we see 4-on-4 game winners in overtime anymore.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me long for those times, because it does look a little bit more like actual hockey. But Evans finds himself, he recognizes the situation. He's in a good pass from Texier, gets him the puck. And he's on a 2-on-1, and he could easily try to force a pass. There's something in that moment where Jake Evans just decided the game was over, which
I just find play.
He read the play and decided my best course of action is taking this to the net myself and not just taking a fourth line center shot at the pads and hoping. No, I'm taking it with a backhand power move to the net.
Yes. I think that was the real thing because I feel like he read really well that I don't know who the defenseman for Vegas was. I have no idea, but he
Yeah, it
was
doesn't
like,
matter.
yeah, he was that guy's focus was on the other guy, which I believe was Caden Gooley. Like in my mind, he read that so well because I think the other thing that Jake Evans was like really good at doing was it wasn't like a fake out or anything like that. It just like it looked like if you're Jake Evans, what's the play you do? The defenseman kept anticipating the puck going to the other guy. And
Yeah.
he just, and so it's just like I feel like Jake Evans's instinctual play is so good.
Yeah, he sold the shot really well.
Yeah.
Where he gets Schmid to bite, and that's why the backhand play, going around him was open. Was he kind of holds the puck in a position that makes it look like he's going to shoot the whole time, and then he just doesn't do that. And
Yeah.
Schmid was fantastic all night. I don't know if a clean shot would have beaten him there. I think you needed to make that move.
Absolutely. And yes, he was another person who was good, but we don't care because we're Canadiens fans. All right. Next, we have an intriguing idea, or my co-host, I can't take credit for it. My co-host has an intriguing idea of how to fix the offside challenge rule. And that's coming up in just a moment here on Locked On Canadiens. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff. The final chance to get in on the action before NFL season officially comes to a close. I know you're all sad about that. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count because after the Super Bowl, the football season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit fanduel.com to get started. All right, it's time for some background. Why is there an offside challenge rule? We always talk about it on the show, and we always say that Matt Duchene will never see heaven because of it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. So, for those of you who recently started watching hockey or who only became a hockey fan in the last few years, let's first provide the context and then talk about what can be done to make this better.
Yeah. So many years ago now, it was Matt Duchene, I believe, was still on the Colorado Avalanche. He scored a goal, I believe, against the Nashville Predators, in which he was offside by no fewer than 8 feet. It was not close. I think Matt Duchene even kind of paused because he thought he was on a breakaway, and I think he kind of stutters because he's like, well, this doesn't count. And he goes in and he scores a goal. The offside challenge was essentially created because of the outrage of that play. And what I find so obnoxious about it is we saw exactly one of those Matt Duchene goals, right? The reason why we say Matt Duchene caused it is because that's the only goal any of us can remember that was incredibly offside and should have been called instantly. The problem is now it's being used as a get out of jail free card for a play where a team gives up what looks like a completely legitimate goal and a player is offside at the blue line by an inch. And that doesn't have any impact on the play. It is just used by the team who is getting scored on to try to take a goal off the board. I think, the Canadiens benefit from this just as much as anybody else does. I just think it's bad for the sport. I think it's bad for the sport that this happens, where every time a goal is scored, we have to wait 30 seconds afterwards to see if a play, in this case, 51 seconds before the goal was scored, was offside by a few inches.
And then
I don't even know if it was that much.
Right?
They turned the clock back. The Canadiens got all that power play time back. My proposition is this. So the challenge for me is that I don't think at first I curse the name of Matt Duchene, right? But I think we have to get back to that being the standard for the kind of call we're trying to overturn. which is the one that is so painfully obviously offside, and the linesman just missed it. I think in order to solve that, this is what I have proposed. Each head coach behind their bench has a button, a buzzer of some kind. Play a zone entry happens. That coach has 10 seconds to press that button. That button sends a signal to the official scorer's booth, and it lights up a little button on their desk. Nobody else in the building knows what's happening, right? We're not stopping the play. The play can continue. Let's say that the coach sees it, he's offside by 10 feet. The coach hits the button 5 seconds after the thing happens. The team goes in and scores. Then you can review it as a challenge play, right? If you're wrong, you still get the penalty for it. If you're right, no goal. I think what that takes away is this whole like the Knights. There's no way they saw that was offside on the play. There's no chance. There was 51 seconds of play time. The goal was scored. They celebrated. They went to center. 30 more seconds left. It's probably close to 2 minutes before the puck was about to be dropped, and they've actually decided they want to challenge the goal. I just feel like if we want to fix this, it's not going away. The offside challenge is going to stay here. But we have to remember why it exists. And it exists because Matt Duchene was offside by 8 feet, not 8 millimeters. There's a legitimate difference here. And I think that's what we need to go back to. Play continues, but you need to be able to tell me with the naked eye, not with monitors the size of your living room wall, where you're blown up and you're seeing white pixels and going, he's offside. You need to be able to tell me with the naked eye on the bench that was offside, otherwise no good. I say you have 15 seconds after the zone entry, and you have to press that button. And you can't unpress it. You can't go, take it back. As soon as you press it, you're on the hook. If they score, it's a challenge. They're going to review it. And if you get it right, it's no goal. And if you get it wrong, it's a penalty. Yeah. Where is this play? Why haven't they done this? And why am I wrong?
I think the only thing is the logistics, right? Because the fact that the challenge exists means that every team is going to use it. Just like you said, the Montreal Canadiens are guilty of this as well, right? It exists, so they're going to use it. Like the button makes them think twice, and it also takes us back to like it has to be seen with the naked eye, because there was I think it was against Lefkowski earlier this season. Like they were looking and they were like, what part of the skate is on the blue line? To me, that is a lot of wasted time. And it's just at that point, like, the NHL was around for what, like 100 something years. Yep. We survived without it for 95 of them. We can survive, so I do agree that there should be a challenge, but it should be for the blatant offside situations, right. Which again, there was one playoff game that was decided by this, because the key thing in that Matt Duchene game was that the Avs won it. Now, I don't know how many games they won it, how many goals they won it by, but I remember like part of the outrage was that the outcome of the game was affected by it.
Yeah. I one of the things for me, I go back to, it was a playoff series, Montreal and Tampa. And it was when Michel Therrien was still coaching, and Tampa scored in overtime to win a game. I think it was the 2015 playoffs. And they were offside on the goal. And it was one where I think they were offside by like a couple feet, and they noticed it as it was happening, and they would have been able to challenge that under what I just described and handle it. I almost wonder though, like if I still think the rules for like overtime and the last 5 minutes or whatever of regulation should stay. Like just let the league handle those reviews.
Yeah.
But I just cannot stand that this is used as just a get out of jail free card. Vegas, that puck being a millimeter forward or backward in relation to the blue line had no impact on the play. And Vegas knows that, and every team that does this knows that. And that's why it sucks. It's anti-competitive. I cannot stand how obtusely we look at offsides, and yet things like, any other rule in the rule book, we don't look at that sort of thing. Also, like, we only decide that offsides matters on goals. What about like a team comes in offside and they draw a power play on a play that should have been blown dead, right? Yeah. We admit that is a thing that we want to get out of the game. What if they score on that power play? That's essentially the same thing, So it's just, I think it's time to move past this. Everyone's fed up with it. I think the NHL's they lack any real creativity to pull themselves out of this. It's really irritating.
Yeah, they do need to come up with a different way, if not your way, a different way. Because the other thing too is that like I'm tired of like it's 2 minutes into a game and we're dealing with a challenge, right?
Yeah.
And I think Brendan Gallagher has been victimized more than any other Canadian of the from
Yeah.
this. But either way, all right, that's our idea. Let us know what you guys think, and like how you think it can be fixed. In the meantime, we have our daily trivia.
We do. Let's go into it. So yesterday's question. In Lane Hutson's rookie season, he had the fourth most assists in a single season by a Habs defenseman. In first, second, and third, you'll find Larry Robinson. How many assists does Lane Hutson need to take first place on that ranking? How many assists does he need to be in first place all time for single season assists by a Habs defenseman?
I refuse to do it.
I'll do
67.
6-7. I'll do the meme.
You'll do the
That's
6-7 meme.
that's part of the reason why I wanted to do it. I will give Kyle
Super
Roberts and
Rain?
Super Rain credit here. They each said 66, which is how much Big Bird currently has. So 67, 6-7.
Yeah.
We'll put Lane Hutson in
Yeah,
first
'cause
place.
Lane Hutson will
Hutson's young enough. He
tie.
probably thinks 6-7 hilarious. He'll
He
probably think
probably
that's so
is.
funny.
Yes, absolutely. He's probably aiming for that too. Because like 66 is true. He will be first, but he'll be tied with Larry Robinson. We wanted to know how he could be atop by himself.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, going into the game on Monday, Hudson was on pace for 69. Nice assist. Both the meme are in there. I think that's really funny, but I don't believe he picked up any points in this one. No, he did not. So we will wait to see if he can pick up more than 1 point in his next game against the Colorado Avalanche. All right.
It's okay. There's almost 30 other games left.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right, today's question. This was Jake Evans' first game-winning goal of the season. If you look at Jake Evans, his career, season by season, game-winning goals, it's very funny. The first 4 or 5 years he had 0, then he had 1, and last year he had 5 game-winning goals. This was just his first this year, but last season, as I said, he had 5 game winners. 2 of them were against the same team. Which team did Jake Evans sink twice last year? So which team did Jake Evans have 2 game-winning goals against last season? If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below this video. Let us know any way you know how, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode of the show.
I can tell you guys already guessed one and it was incorrect. All right. Let us know what your guesses are, or, look it up, figure it out, do your research. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in today to Locked On Canadiens. We will be back tomorrow as always. We've got plenty of fun stuff to discuss, especially as we get closer to the Olympics. So make sure you are subscribed to and you follow Locked On Canadiens so you get all our latest episodes. You can find us all over social media. We're at TikTok, Blue Sky, and Instagram at Locked On Canadiens. Individually, I'm at The Active Stick and Ian is at Maybe It's Ian. And if you never miss an episode, the Everyday Clubber is built for you. Get Locked On Canadiens ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedoncanadiens.supercast.com to join the club. And for those of you who are on video, we will send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. And on audio, make sure your second listen of the day is NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. You might see one of us talking on that show as well. We want to thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all tomorrow.